And Chris is not there either.
Okay, thank you. I also see that we're now live streaming on YouTube.
Okay. All righty. So with your permission, we are actually have a quiet people on the waiting room. 28.
Yes.
Do you want me to let everyone in?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And Amy, just provide that with the link. All right. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to start a meeting. Oh, there you go. Perfect. All righty. I think we got it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Claudia Ray. I'm an urban planner and designer for WRT, Wallace Roberts and Todd, which is a planning and design firm based in Philadelphia. And me and my team are helping the city of Newark with this new wonderful project called for the Doremus area for the Port Industrial Redevelopment Plan that we are calling Forward-Bound Doremus. So welcome everyone. Before we get started, Amy, I want to make sure everyone be able to see my.
Yes, everyone can see your screen. Mute though.
Claudia, you muted.
There you go. Thank you. We have Amy help me with the back end of this virtual meeting. It has, we also streaming this meeting on YouTube right now. Hopefully we'll get it started in Facebook, but everyone that's looking for us at home, welcome. For right now, we're gonna ask everyone to turn off their cameras and be muted, except if you are a speaker. If not, then Amy is going to go on the back end and start turning cameras on and muting people. There's going to be a segment in the presentation that you're going to be able to actually turn off your camera and unmute your microphone during the breakout sessions. But I also want to make everyone aware that this is a public meeting. We are recording this Zoom meeting. We are posting this on YouTube and Facebook. So if you don't wish to face to show in any of this, please turn off your camera. Tonight, we do have this presentation in 5 different parts. We're gonna start with a welcome message by Allison Ladd, and then eventually we are gonna hear from Chris Waxon and the mayor of the city. Then we're gonna do a brief presentation between Woo Kim, my colleague, and myself. Then on the third part, we actually gonna have a couple interactive exercises with you guys. We're gonna do a polling questions, and then we're gonna open it to Q&A. Then we're gonna do a group exercise with everyone that's here in the room. We have wonderful facilitators. They're gonna walk you through a mapping exercise that we have prepared for you guys, and then we're gonna have some closing remarks at the end. So with that, I'm gonna hand it to Allison Ladd to do a welcome message, or if Chris already joined the meeting, then Chris. I guess it's you, Allison. Go ahead. Allison, there you go.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. We are so excited to see you tonight in this virtual space. I am Allison Ladd, the Deputy Mayor of Economic and Housing Development for Mayor Raz J. Baraka. It is just really a delight to be with all of you tonight. It's a new time, a new space, and COVID-19 has definitely made us pivot and adapt in many ways. And so including a meeting like tonight where we're seeing you virtually. But I'm really delighted to see you all tonight here, and we need you. We need your assistance, we need your voice, and we need your ideas about what do we see for the redevelopment plan of the Doremus Port redevelopment plan. So we really need to hear from you about your ideas about how we can ensure equitable development and a vision here for the Doremus area. Most recently, Mayor Baraka, as many of you probably joined us last week, he gave his first virtual State of the City address. I don't know about you, but it was pretty exciting to hear about how Newark is strong, how Newark is leading, and how we continue to advance equitable development and opportunities of being inclusive and transparent with community engagement across our city. So I encourage you all to take a look at that State of the City, which you can find on the City of Newark's Facebook page, and really listen to the mayor addressing a lot of what we have done since COVID-19 came to our city, but also about the future. And that's what's exciting about the conversation today. We are talking about the future. We're talking about the future of our city, not only here around Doremus Avenue and the port, but also the larger, broader context of the East Ward and our entire city. Because part of what we'll be doing tonight will be part of our larger master planning process that will be kicking off in January. And we really want you to participate in that process as well. So as we're thinking about your conversation tonight, and really in conclusion, as I conclude these welcoming remarks, is to say, thank you for joining us. We need your voice. We want you to be at this table and many others so that we can advance the city forward together. And just again, in closing, wanted to thank the incredible economic and housing development team who is with us tonight. Chris Watson, Paula Vishindi, I saw Tim Jensen, as well as Matt De Silva and Juan O'Neill. It's just really wonderful to have you. And I think Brendan was here as well. So thank you for being present, for helping us advance this effort. We can't do this without you. And to the ambassadors, the steering committee, and the community, thank you for already accepting the challenge and being present tonight as well as we move this effort forward. I'm hopeful that the mayor will be able to join us tonight. His words, I know, will also inspire your thoughts as we move through this discussion. So when he's able to join us, we'll be able to have him give welcoming remarks as well. So thank you, Claudia and WRT, for pulling us together and making it happen.
Thank you, Allison. And actually, I just received a note that the mayor, unfortunately, is not going to be able to join us. So eventually we'll, we coordinate with him to actually have a welcome message and probably post it in our YouTube page. So moving forward, we're going to talk with you. So the next part of the presentation is to talk about, our assignment. So to get you a little bit, guys, situated to understand what is a study area. So a study area is what is a port industrial district. So it is bounded by the Passaic River to the north and to the I-78 on the south, and then to the west to routes 9 and 1. This is, an area that you guys are very well known. So our assignment is to do a shared vision and redevelopment plan at the same time. Like I say, this is the project team. We are working under the umbrella of the City of Newark Department of Economic and Housing Development Office. And our primary team is WRT, so we're going to be in charge of doing the visioning, master planning, and community engagement, land use, and public realm. And we have a couple partners, Nini Gred, with Kevin Hively, and then TNM over here with Stan Staleka. We're going to be helping us on the transportation and engineering and environmental and economic development. And at the same time, we're going to be working along the steering committee, stakeholders, and ambassadors. So basically, this is our project team. We're all on this together. It's no consultant versus ambassador and steering committees. We all in this, and we actually very grateful to have members of the People Assembly to join this team as the project ambassadors. We have what we call the Forward Bound group, which is our members of the Planning and Zoning Office, as well as Sustainability Engineer and Bloomers and Associates, and we have members on the steering committee from several organizations that are going to help us steer and lead this project. Our goal is to create a collaborative, interjurisdictional, and inclusive vision and redevelopment plan. And we want to make sure that we're balancing equity, resiliency, health, and sustainability when we do that. Another important part of this plan is this plan will be doing an envision and redevelopment plan for the next 10 years. We also related to infrastructure. We want to make sure that we develop the right infrastructure to support the expansion and existing new building. We also would like to determine the best and high use for redevelopment. And at the end, our vision plan, it should have land use, transportation, and streetscape recommendations and framework. Our work plan is, we have divided this process in 4 different phases. So right now we are in September, October, kicking off this project today over here. And the 5 phases that we have established is what we call initiation. So it's listening and understanding. Then exploration, which when we start generating ideas. Validation is when we're actually going to be developing the plan. And finally, in documentation is the approval and implementation of this plan. So we envisioned for this project to start, already started in September because we were doing a lot of due diligence and ended in May of 2021. During this time, we have planned to have 3 community meetings, having this one to be the first one is what you see in blue on the screen. Then we'll have another big community meeting in January and another one in March. And staggered to those meetings, we'll be meeting with the steering committee, 3 more times. And then we also going to be running some town hall meetings, and these are going to be led by the ambassadors. And these are going to be limited in-person meetings. And then in each one of them, in each one of the phases, we'll have different deliverables that we're going to be presenting to you and to the steering committee for your validation. So we just don't want to go ahead and just go to the last meeting and say, here's the plan. We're going to break out the deliverables in different phases to slowly get build consensus and validation. Because we are in the, in the age of COVID, we are going to run this process mostly online and probably limited in-person engagement. So we are going to be gathering input from you from our website. We have mapping and survey tools for you. Most of our meetings are actually going to be virtual, going to be saved and recorded, and you're going to be having access to that through the project's YouTube page. And then we're going to have limited town hall meetings, like I mentioned, probably 3 of them led by the ambassadors, and they're going to be coming to you. And we have also have social media, which is a great way of communication with the cities of Newark Facebook page. So where are we here today? We actually started this process a little bit back in January, and when we had to stop in March because of the pandemic. So during that time, we've been doing a little bit of recalibrating. We selected ambassadors who are going to be helping us with the project. We launched the website. We're here launching the project on October 14. And the next steps are going to be is we are launching today a community mapping exercise, which a lot of you are going to have the chance to do it right here in the meeting, the people that join this meeting, or do it at home through our website. Then we're also going to launch a community survey on November 1st that you all going to be able to do it online and this town hall meetings. So right now in this first phase, like I said, it's a lot of listening and understanding of the place. This over here, if you don't have it yet, it's on the top, you can see the link of our website. The website is going to be the home base of our project because we are running a lot of things virtually and on the computer. So please get familiar with this page. This is the best way for you to get the latest information about the project, the same as the city's Facebook page. So go on there, put it and save it in your browser. Like I mentioned before, we have created a YouTube channel for the project. So I invite everyone to subscribe and get notification. This meeting will be uploaded into the website to the YouTube side, as well as our other meetings, and Facebook, the City of Newark Facebook page as well. So with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Woo Kim, who is the principal in charge of this project. Woo?
Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me okay? Okay, I'll take
Yes,
that
we
as a
can hear
yes. Okay, great. So I'm going to flip through a number of slides, and there will be a lot of information on those slides. And the idea here isn't to inundate you with data and information, but rather to equip you so that as we do the latter part of this presentation, where we are going into breakout groups, that you would be fully equipped to ask informed questions and to make comments. So as Claudia mentioned, this is our study area. We're calling this the Forward-Bound Doremus project. It is also known as the Port Industrial Area in Newark, New Jersey. And the study area is what we are charged to do is a redevelopment plan and a vision plan. The redevelopment plan, it has a number of sort of statutory requirements. We're looking to reverse conditions of deterioration and blight. We're looking to promote advancements of community interests and to promote physical development and to simplify and codify the legal mechanism for local redevelopment. It's a pretty large area, as you know, and as you can see. And there are many different components in this area. I'm not going to go into all the details of it, but suffice it to say, about 70% of this study area is in the floodplain, whether it's in the 100-year floodplain or the 500-year floodplain. And in layman's speak, a 100-year floodplain is not a flood event that will happen once every 100 years, but it's a flood event that has a 1% chance of flooding in any given year. And a 500-year floodplain is a 0.2% chance of flooding in any given year. I'm sure many of you Newark residents can attest to the fact that 100-year floodplains are happening more and more frequently, and the severity of these floods are also an issue. And so we're going to talk about that. I want to take a moment here before we advance to the next slide to talk. Claudia mentioned what this project is going to be about. This project is going to be about economic vitality. It's going to be about environmental resilience. I mentioned the flood issues. And it's going to be about social and environmental justice. As you'll see in subsequent slides, there are serious issues of environmental justice and contamination, of water and air quality, things that we want to address in this redevelopment plan. Moving on. Those of you who are unfamiliar, who've never been to this part of the city, here's just some snapshots. So it's largely an industrial area and mostly industrial economic development. So you will see that it's unlike other parts of Newark where, with really charming neighborhoods, this area has a character that really isn't conducive for pedestrians. In fact, it's not even conducive to vehicular traffic other than sort of truck traffic. Here's Avenue P, Doremus Avenue, and I think Rutherford on the bottom, although my screen is cut off here. And that's it. However, next slide. This part of the city is an economic engine, and its proximity to the port of New York and New Jersey, its proximity to the Newark International Airport, and its proximity to the transportation infrastructure, which we'll get into greater detail, puts it at a nexus, of the region. And I like to think of this area as the sort of the grand central station of freight in the Northeast. So the impact here is going to be enormous, and it's going to have some large ripple effects in the region that stretches in the tri-state area. So next. Now, I mentioned earlier that, this area, the study area is largely industrial. There is a small residential component there. As you can see, there's a prison. And so, there are about 3,000 residents in the prison facility. However, the focus of our work and a lot of the issues that we will be handling has to do with the Ironbound neighborhood, which is not in our study area. However, it's very impacted by the study area. As you can see in the map, the Ironbound neighborhood in Newark is one of the most densely sort of built out neighborhoods. The density here, it's in the dark black colors. And there are some significant sort of issues as it comes to environmental justice, air quality, truck traffic. Additionally, the Ironbound neighborhood is also 65% minority. It's a very diverse neighborhood and a booming part of Newark. And in fact, you know, some may say that's what Newark is really kind of known for is that immigrant and diverse minority neighborhood there. I mentioned earlier that part of our charge is going to be economic vitality. Here we already have some data about the workforce and the jobs information. In the port industrial area of our study area, the primary largest employment sectors are transportation, warehousing, manufacturing, and wholesale trade. It's not surprising given the land uses and the physical layout of our study area. Citywide, it's slightly different, although Newark does have a lot of transportation and warehousing because of its geographic advantage in the region. And then on the right here, you see the jobs inflow and outflow. So there are approximately about 100,000 jobs in the city of Newark. And as many of you know, Newark is a place where many of its residents go outside of the city to work, and a lot of outside residents come into the city to work because Newark has many large employers and a booming sort of office district. Although these days, I'm sure we're all challenged by the coronavirus pandemic. When you look at the Ironbound neighborhood, we have about 18,000 jobs, and about 16,000 residents come into that neighborhood to work, and about 12,000 residents leave that neighborhood to go work elsewhere. Our site offers about 9,000 jobs. It's important to note that the port industrial area offers about 10% or 9% of all City of Newark jobs. In the bottom bar, you can see that some of these jobs actually are well-paying jobs. And so something for us to consider as we think about the economic vitality and the future of this district. Next. I won't go into too great detail. We have already mapped out all the different uses on the site. I mentioned earlier that mostly industrial. We have some sort of tank farms, and we have energy uses and sewage treatment plants, as well as a prison. But there are also a lot of other different types of uses here, including food, container, chemical, logistics, shipping, recycling, and so something for us to think about. Next. And I mentioned earlier about this being sort of the Grand Central Station for freight infrastructure in the region. You can see here that the study area here is served by highways, by port, by airport, by the Northeast Corridor, by lots of different routes that connect the larger region. Additionally, the Bayonne Bridge has recently been upgraded to allow for larger sort of Panamax ships to enter the Newark Bay and to dock at the port of New York and New Jersey, which is something, and that is a recent development and something for us to factor in as we think about economic vitality and the transportation improvements needed. So this is a slide that shows you the truck destinations. Because of the port, freight traffic and truck traffic originates from just south of our study area mostly, but also goes through our study area, and then it just goes to show you the implications throughout the region, and mostly Essex County, where the truck traffic sort of flows out into. Next. At WRT, we sort of pride ourselves to our environmental planning roots, and we conducted some due diligence on the site, looking at some historic maps. And this site here was historically a salt marsh up until the late 1800s. And it's a very low-lying area of the city, and it's no surprise that it's flood impacted. And you can see here on the right the flood areas in the 100-year floodplain. It's important to note that 72% of all of the city's floodplain is actually in that study area. So I mentioned earlier about environmental justice, and I don't want to gloss over this fact that I think we do have to work very hard in today's age of righting the wrongs of the past and making sure that there is social and environmental justice served to residents of Newark and business owners as well. We've started to do some due diligence, and we have some good information about Superfund sites and brownfield sites in the study area. And Superfund sites are sites that are deemed contaminated and are eligible for federal funding for cleanup. And then we also have some sewer outfalls information that we've mapped, as well as some of the other critical. And I'll turn this over to Claudia to continue on emceeing and the next part of our presentation.
Perfect. Thank you, Wu. So I'm gonna invite Pallavi Shai, which is our supervising planner for the city of Newark, to join me on this next session from you. We wanna hear from you. So what we're gonna do is we have a series of questions for you that we like to ask through the Zoom link. So it's a bunch of polling. Then on Facebook, we're gonna actually post a link on the Facebook page and maybe on the YouTube too channel to have comments, because if you're watching us from home, we have the same polling, the same questions on the Google form that is available on our website. So if Ted and Amy can share that with the people that is watching it at home. And then over here, I'm gonna have Pallavi lead this exercise. Pallavi, wanna
Yeah.
make sure you're unmuted?
So I'm unmuted.
Okay, and I can see you. Okay, pin video, there you go.
So what I'm going to
Alrighty,
do is read out the question, and then through polling, you will select one of the answers for this question. So the first question is, you need to tell us about you. So when you see the options, here are the options. Just select one that in the context of this project applies to you.
Amy, do you wanna launch the poll?
It should be launched.
Launched, and I'm actually seeing it in
Please.
real time.
You saw it? Okay. Oops, sorry.
We have about 8 participants who click other. If you can chat, put into the chat function how you identify yourself.
Yeah. So yeah, so for this meeting, we made a bunch of you a co-host so you can share your screen. So that's why you're seeing the result live. Everyone else can't. So we'll give you a countdown when we have, I believe that we have how many participants?
About 62.
62.
62. Okay.
So if you click the other option, please specify in the chat section as to what is the other.
Perfect.
All right. Let's give it about 15 more seconds.
And once this is done, I will read the top 3 options.
Alrighty. So let's close it up and launch the results.
Yes, so you should be able to see the results now.
Okay, so the top answer here is that the option other was selected, and we will see in the chat as to what the other is. The next top answer is that you are a stakeholder. And right after that, there's two options that got most vote. This is you work in the Port Industrial District, and then you live in or work in the Ironbound neighborhood.
Alrighty.
So we'll move on to the next question now.
Pallavi, here's a second question for you on the screen.
The second question is, what are some of the challenges the Port Industrial District is facing today? And for this question, you will select up to 3 options.
All right, so Amy, go ahead and launch the question. Yeah, just select the top 3, and then we've got a lot of the majority of you fill up that. We'll stop the poll. Oh, yes. And Eric, yes, when you do other, perfect. Just type in the chat what other means for question number 1. All right, how many we have submitted, Amy?
Let's give it another 15 seconds.
Perfect.
All right, I'm going to close out the poll now and share the results.
Okay, so the top one we have here, which undoubtedly we were aware of this, is that this area has environmental degradation and injustice, so which involves a lot of dumping, poor air and water quality, and contaminated soils. The next one that we have here is poor area character and safety, followed by lack of access and connectivity. We also have another one that mentions stormwater management. There's a lot of flooding in this area. So that's another one. Okay. We'll move on to the next question. Oh, I'm sorry. There's another one here that's at 46%, which mentions that there's a lot of truck idling traffic on industrial and residential streets. Okay.
Okay, the third question is on the screen, Valerie.
Okay. So moving on, the next question is, what are some of the positive values and opportunities of the Port Industrial District? Again, you can select up to 3 options for this.
And if you select the other, you can go ahead and type it on the chat. Say question 3 other, and then type your answer so we can keep track of those as well.
All right, we'll give it another 30 seconds to answer the question. All right, Pallavi, there are the results.
Okay, so let's begin with the first one. So 67% of you answered that it is surrounded by significant transportation and infrastructure network. That's highways, rail, airport, and port. 59% of you answered that it has the potential to become a hub for logistics and distribution business as extension of the port. And then 44% agree that it has the potential to become a large, stronger job center for Newark residents. We'll move on.
And I just want to mention that somebody on the chat put other, which is they put Q3 potential to do green resiliency mitigation to protect residential areas nearby. That came from Drew. Thank you, Drew.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question. So the next question is, what type of industry or business do you want to see in the Port Industrial District? Again, you can select up to 3 options for this. We also have the other options, which you can share in the chat section of the meeting.
We'll give this another 15 to 30 seconds. All right, there are the results.
Okay, so let's see. So at the top we have 52% of you selected that it could be for third-party logistics, 3PL companies or delivery companies for Amazon. Well, there's 66% agree that it is for port support business. And let's see, we have, I think 31% say that small business incubation for food trucks, janitorial, etc. And I wanted to see if in the chat section we have anything. So in the chat section, we have light manufacturing, assembly plants, production, zero emission, clean energy, again, light manufacturing. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next question.
Is this the last one?
This is the final question.
Okay. So, okay, sorry, the windows are interfering. So what do you want this plan to achieve? And this will be extremely helpful for us to come up with a redevelopment plan for this area. So we really appreciate your views, comments, and suggestions.
And just to a reminder, if you're watching this on Facebook, or Ted, if you're keeping track, or Erica on the Facebook Live, on the Facebook page, if you can post the link with the polling questions so people can submit. Also for the ones right now, doing this right now, you can, go to our website and send this link to, your friends for them to fill this up. We're gonna have this 5 questions open, until December.
Right.
Also, if we think that we missed something, what this plan should achieve, just put other and type it on the chat.
And you will have opportunity to contact us and share your ideas through our websites. Our email address is also available. So this is not a one-time thing, it's an ongoing process. Please visit our website and share any ideas that you might have. Share the link with other people that you know, the residents of Newark and other stakeholders. So we really look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, we'll give it another 15 seconds.
Again, there's another option. Please specify in the chat what is the other option.
Oh, there it is.
Those are the results.
Okay. So at 57%, we have positioned the area to attract businesses that create jobs for residents. Again, at 57%, we have positioned the area as a natural extension of the port's operations and logistics. The next one at 43%, we have ensure environmental justice is at the forefront of all solutions. I'm going to read one more. At 33%, we have revisit and enforce designated truck routes, parking, idling regulations.
Perfect.
And then in the chat, I just wanted to mention, so one of the comments is leverage the access to multiple transportation modes and local large consumer markets to create economic opportunities. All right, thank you.
And then we have one more from Kenny. It says set expectations for residents and stakeholders. Alrighty. And like I mentioned before, we do have the same questionnaire available in our website. So here's the link. And then on November 1st, we actually gonna launch a more comprehensive survey that we're gonna base out of some of the answers that we got from this survey today for you to be able to fill it up. So it's a little bit more detailed to gather more information from you guys. So feel free to share this. So right now what we're gonna do, I wanna take a moment I just saw that Chris Watson joined the meeting. So I wanna acknowledge that he's in the meeting. And Chris, I wanna give you the opportunity to say hello before we jump into the Q&A session. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for now so I can see your beautiful faces and not see myself only. And I wanna be able to have then, Chris, if you're in the meeting, to say your welcome message. I know you were having problems earlier to join. Is he here?
I'm here, Claudia. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Welcome all, and thank you for joining us tonight. On behalf of the Office of Planning and Zoning, we really want to acknowledge your presence and welcome you to tonight's meeting, and encourage you to not only join this meeting, but other meetings that we'll be having as we move forward with our larger planning efforts around the Newark Master Plan. Tonight, what we'll be discussing is Doremus, which is a very important industrial hub of our city. And some will ask why Doremus and why now? You know, we recognize that Doremus has so much to offer in terms of the city's continued economic vitality. And then we need to acknowledge our abutting neighborhood in the East Ward, where for decades, residents there have been the subjects of environmental injustice. And we see this as an opportunity where we can course correct some of those environmental injustices. And I want to say thank you to the steering committee who has helped us this far. Those committee members being members of the East Ward and members of the larger Newark neighborhoods. Thank you for your insight. And I hope that tonight we can have the public participate in an honest way that can really help drive this port redevelopment plan that we are embarking on. And thank you, WRT, for the wonderful work that you have done so far to lead us to this moment. And the members of my team, I would like to also tell them, thank you. Your efforts does not go unnoticed and it's applauded. So I wouldn't take up any more of the time, and just let's proceed with tonight's public meeting. And thank you again for joining us.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. So what we wanted to do is, before we jump into the breakout sessions, which is now we're going to have like some kind of mapping exercises, we want to be able to, open up to general questions. So we invite right now to everyone to type in the chat any questions that you have. And then we're going to have, Chris, I know that you stopped your video, but we're going to have Chris to answer some of the questions, Pallavi and myself. So I'm going to open the chat really quickly over here and let everyone know that you are free to type any questions about the process. What are we doing? Anything that you would like to ask us right now before we go into the participatory exercise in different subgroups. Or if you want to expand on, the answers that you provided in some of the previous questions about, the industries that you want to see there, or just express your opinion about some of the health and environmental issues having, this is gonna your chance to put it in the chat. Okay, so we got one more question, and okay, so I'm gonna, Chris, are you able to see the questions, or you want me to read it to you? You're muted, Chris. You're still muted. Amy, can you help unmute Chris?
Sorry, Claudia, I was saying that the host needed to unmute me. Yeah, and I did see those questions, and it seemed as though the questions that are being asked is about the regional connectivity of the Doremus plan with our bottom municipalities of Kearney and beyond. Again, when we're looking at Doremus, we're not just looking at in terms of this particular precinct in the city, but we're looking at with the regional connectivity, knowing that part of that regional connectivity is our waterway, and how do we connect this neighborhood to our residents for opportunities, but how we also attract opportunities from those neighboring municipalities. One of the key aspects of this plan is to look in also as to how the port, that is so important to us, plays in terms of our economic vitality and linking our residents to those industries that we could now attract. In terms of looking at the waterways, I know only recently we've been having just preliminary discussions with Hudson County about how we attract ferry service to our ports, and a ferry service that could link Newarkers to our ports and neighboring ports. So yes, we are using this opportunity to look at the regional connectivity of this port area to our neighboring municipalities.
Okay, so I do believe that you answered almost like 3 questions with that answer. Another one from Sandra says, how will this impact the county correctional facility which has a history of being built on landfill. Very toxic health-wise for the inmate, staff, and family.
So can I answer this question, Claudia?
Yes.
So I had, this is Pallavishan, the supervising planner for City of Newark. So I had reached out to staff at the Essex County Correctional Facility, and they are part of the stakeholder process here in this Doremus redevelopment plan. So we will be having ongoing conversations with them. And, the issues that you pointed out, they are also a concern to us, and we will work with them to develop a policy strategy and see how we can address some of the issues that you have just asked in the chat. And we'll keep you updated, okay? It's a process. They will be part of the stakeholder conversations that we will have, and we will keep you updated on that.
Yeah, and just to add to what Pallavi said, part of any redevelopment plan, again, is a course correction. And that course correction is remedying some of the land use permeability that would have allowed for these particular uses, knowing that, in a sense, these uses have extended their stay. And how can we, in a sense, course correct that? How can we still have these type of high industrial uses, but in through the new lens of looking at this area through environmental resiliency? So having these principles at the table is a way in which we can have an open and honest dialogue as to how we move forward in this precinct in a more resilient way.
Perfect. I'm going to have one more question I think I missed from Eric. It says, given the area's advantage, location, and infrastructure, what has prevented large-scale distribution type development, fulfillment center for taking place in this area?
I think that answer is twofold, Claudia. One, it's the prescriptive land use that was there, and two, the land itself is not primarily owned by the city. There are a lot of private landowners there, and they have used on their land, the type of economic facilities that they have deemed at that point to be viable. We do see a shift in that industry, and even with those private landowners, we're seeing a shift in the type of new uses that they're calling for. So again, this is that opportunity to talk with private landowners as to how do we do a land use plan for this neighborhood that attracts these new type of industries to Doremus.
Okay, so we do have a couple more questions, and then if we don't, then we'll go ahead and go to the breakout groups. This one is coming from Claudio Barbosa. Claudia actually has a statement. So I'm gonna jump and just go, Claudia, read your questions. So he wants to know if we're gonna be bringing green technology companies and strong sustainability vision to partner with the divisions. I mean, he was saying that everything, it was very focused on high in logistics and manufacturing. So what happened to technology and green businesses? Are we attracting that? Are we targeting that?
We certainly are. The main theme of this redevelopment plan is built around two things: equity and resilience. So we would like to bring the type of industry that could add to the equity narrative that we're forwarding for the city, and also those industry that meet our green new standards. So again, this redevelopment plan is built around those themes: equity and resilience. And resilience, so we can do that type of course correction in terms of the environmental injustices that the East Waters have endured for decades because of the presence of the port. And by attracting these new green jobs with green technology, that would add to that course corrective narrative.
Okay, so a couple more questions. Ron said he's a manufacturer in the area, and of course, we experience significant truck traffic and road repair issues. Is there a plan to widen the roads and upgrading the road? So as part of this project, we are going to be looking at the roads. We're going to be looking at the available right-of-way that we have and come up with, streetscape plans and improvements. So yes, I mean, the roads is one of the things that we're going to be focused. Understanding there's limitation with the right-of-way to see what we can see, what it's on the public right-of-way. And then if we have to make any suggestions on encroaching private land, we'll see that with each one of the property owners.
And also, Claudia, I know one of the things we're looking at is how we can reroute truck traffic away from our residential neighborhoods, but still giving these industry the opportunity to ensure that their logistics are not disturbed, but at the same time paying keen attention that whilst we do not want to disturb business as usual, we want to protect our East Ward residents from what they have endured, again, from that environmental injustice, even from the truck traffic in their neighborhood. So it's looking at where we could widen roads and where we can reroute truck traffic away from our residential neighborhoods.
Perfect. And then the last one from Annie or Anne, I hope that I'm not mispronouncing your name. I don't think you have a question. I think it's more like a statement. You say industrial development is currently red hot in demand in the area, providing an excellent opportunity for development and redevelopment of properties. So we do agree that, and I think COVID has changed that. Industrial uses have become very hot after COVID, more than office and resident and commercial. So yes, that's a trend that we have to look at it. So 2 more and then we'll break it. Will industrial odors be remediated? I'm gonna let Pallavi and Chris answer that.
So we do know this is an issue. We will definitely try to address these issues. I don't know how long or how fast we can get this done, but we certainly have started the conversation and the work. There will be different policies in place to take care of these issues. I don't know what these policies are yet because we are still developing, but yes, this will be addressed. It's not something that we will overlook, but we will definitely address these issues.
Yeah, and on building on what Pallavi just said, we've already seen opportunities for those things. We know that one of the ways in which we mitigate odors by green beltways, planting enough trees to act as buffers, and we've already seen opportunities where new beltways can be planted, more trees can be planted to act as those buffers, not only for the particulate matter, but also for odor absorption and provide for fresher air for our residents. It's important that I stress that this plan is really resident focused, and it's one of the reasons why we're here tonight, because while we may have some of these assumptions as to how we need to go about remedying the port area and providing for better opportunities, it's important that we hear your voice. And hearing your voice tonight is really strengthening our resolve as to how we get to a place where the port serves its dual purpose, where it serves as an area of industry and opportunity, and where through our course correction, we remedy some of those environmental injustices that include foul odor.
Right. And one idea that comes to mind is, as part of this redevelopment plan, we can put in recommendations where in any industrial area, and especially Doremus, how can we install infrastructure that monitors the air quality, odor, and other things? So we have a way of monitoring these if they get out of hand, So I think that should be something that we should look into.
Perfect. And then just a follow-up with that, I just want to read on the chat, just said, Ron mentioned that EPA and NJDEP just had air quality trucks driving on the roads and at industrial plant and sampling air within the community. So we have the infrastructure. So one more questions and we're going to close this up. If you guys have more questions, you can go to the website and click on the contact us and then submit more questions, and then those get directed to Pallavi and we can have that. We also have a frequently asked questions section on the website that we can be adding some of the answers to general answers to some of these questions over there. So we keep track of what, people is asking us. So one more. So U.S. Fish and Wildlife and the city of Newark were looking to perform environmental sustainability project in the area and repairing the seawalls. Is this still on the table?
It certainly is. And not only repairing our seawalls, but looking at like right now we are in the final phases of expanding our park along that corridor. So not only looking at how we could remedy put a seawall there, but also ensure that a green beltway is there as a buffer. Again, when we think about this area, we're thinking about it as our river access, not only to ensure that we course correct the Passaic River and some of the injustices have done to that river, but again, how we use this waterway for interregional connectivity through ferry services, and even increasing the way in which we use the river as a logistic medium.
All righty. So the last portion of this, I mean, we technically only have 20 minutes more, but we would like to extend probably this meeting a little bit more. We do have one more exercise for you guys, which is what we call a mapping exercise. So in this part of the meeting, we actually gonna break you guys in breakout groups. Zoom allows us to do that with 2 facilitators. We actually had 19 facilitators because we were expecting a lot of people. So we're probably gonna pair 2 facilitators for breakout room, one for them to lead the conversation and another one to take notes. So I'm sure that the facilitators are very happy with this new change, since we only have 50 participants in the meeting, or 49 participants on the meeting. So for this breakout group exercise, we are going to be doing like a mapping exercise. So we want for you to place a pin or make a comment on the places that you like. And this could be businesses, park, community centers, places that you don't like and you think are compromising the health and mobility and the sustainability and safety of this area and the neighborhood. Places that need to be improved. So if we're talking about the seawalls and we're talking about the streets, which street specifically do you mean? What part of the seawall? What businesses? And then we were talking about job opportunities in the industries. And I know that we were talking about green jobs and technology, but we can keep brainstorming about those industries. They're not limited to the one that we showed today. So right now what we're gonna do is, because we are live streaming this session, one of the group is gonna stay in the main room with me and Pallavi. Pallavi are gonna be my teammate on this, since now we have less participants and we have a lot of facilitators. And the one stayed in the main room, just keep in mind that we are live streaming this in YouTube and recording the meeting. For the other ones that are up home, Ted, if you can share this link on the Facebook page, we have the same exercise in our website. So you can go to our website, click on participate community mapping, and you can do the same exercise at home in your computer or mobile. So for those that are still around and have not left this meeting and want to participate, Amy is going to go ahead and put you guys in different breakout groups at this moment. So you probably have facilitators. It's going to be probably 2 in each group. So you decide which board to use to take notes. Any questions, even for the facilitators? Oh, hold on.
All right, all the groups have been initiated. So this is the group that's going to stay on the main room.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Thank you, Amy. And how many groups do we have?
We have 8 groups.
Okay. And all righty. So welcome, everyone. I guess you already hear me talk a lot. So since we only have, what do we have? Kenny, Ron, JP, and Vinesh, you're also a facilitator,
Claudia,
right?
I know I was not able to get into the breakout room for some reason.
No, hold on. Amy, are we assigning Vinesh to a breakout room, or he's assigned to us? Let's see if Amy can hear me. Amy's not in the room. No, Vinesh, I think you're here with us.
So I think we do have time for introduction, since we are fewer people here. So I would like to ask Kenny, Ron, Oh, just two people? Kenny and Ron to introduce themselves. The rest are the team members, so.
All right, so before we do that, I just have a technical question. Are you guys able to see my screen with a map?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All righty, so Kenny and Ron and JP, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us who you are? And I think I can go ahead and I just asked you to unmute. I just want to test that we can hear
Yep,
you.
it's Ron.
Okay.
Yes.
All righty.
I'll let Ken go first.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Kenny. Been a resident of the Ironbound for over 15 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not too sure what else in my background would be helpful, but I'm interested in the planning process and the land use process.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Ron?
Well, Ken, I would like to say you're always welcome. So I'm Ron. I work for a manufacturer in the area. We're in the very bottom
Mm-hmm.
right corner. We're very big into sustainability. We're all the way in the bottom. The bridge is our bottom neighbor, the I-78. We have a lot of sustainability that we do. We just restored the wetlands at the rear of the property that also face the bay. And we would like to see that the projects we've been implementing can be sustained and the city would build off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you use our products every day, you just don't know it.
Okay. And then Ron, do you want to, so Kenny and Ron, do you want to please type in the chat your name and, you know, the relationship to the study area so we have it as a record? And then JP, you're next.
So my name is JP. I moved to the Ironbound about 5 years ago and just interested in learning more about the planning process. And I guess particular concerns are environmental remediation, given the environmental challenges, the history there of the port and Ironbound by extension. And also, you know, the kind of a personal concern about kind of improving pedestrian life in Newark and in Ironbound.
Perfect, thank you. And then funny enough, we just have one person join the entire Zoom meeting, Gaetano. Gaetano, I don't know if you were before or you just joined right now, but we are in the part of the presentation that we have everyone that participated in breakout groups to do a mapping exercise. So you are in my group. So welcome. I'm gonna ask to unmute so you can talk.
Claudia, can I quickly interrupt? So do we need
Yeah.
to record this session or is this automatically being recorded?
No, you are recording. Amy is. Yes.
Oh, hi. Yeah, this is Gaetano Lardieri. I live in the Ironbound. I've been here about 18 years, and my family has been in Newark over 115 years. So I have a lot of history here in Newark. So I'm interested in what's going on with this project.
Perfect. So if you can also in the chat box, type your, put your name and your relationship, what you just said over there so we can, keep it as the record.
Okay, well, thank you.
And then Erica, because you were kicked out of the meeting, you are back in the meeting and you're in my breakout group, okay? So Pallavi, do you want to leave the conversation and then take notes because this is my Jamboard, so I already have access to this?
Yes, I will absolutely take notes, okay?
No, I'm taking notes.
Oh, you are taking notes. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm the one who have access to this. I don't think you do.
No problem. So we have
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the question. So we really have a good group since you have stayed in this area for a really long time. You know how this area has changed and we need to change it again for the better. So I would like to hear from you. What are the major concerns that you see in this area that need to be addressed through our redevelopment plan? I know we've heard about it, but I need to get, personal account from you. So I would really appreciate some comments from you.
So we're starting with the concerns and things that we don't like.
Yes, major concerns in this area.
Okay.
So anyone wants to go first? Kenny, Ron, and
And
Jill.
you can stay unmuted if you can. I think that's a little bit
Yeah, you
better.
can stay unmuted. That would
Hey,
be great.
this is Ron. I know the people that probably live off to the left of the chart, so I would like to see whatever they would like to be done first. I'm in the bottom corner. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I've been working in the Newark area since 1988, and I worked for various companies. The northern ends of Doremus Avenue is like a dump. So one of the things I've noticed over the years is garbage has been just piled on the side of the roads, and especially when you start heading like towards Wilson Avenue from off of Doremus, you head west on Wilson and all, you start to see them before the residential areas, just a lot of garbage. You know, I'd like to see it kept clean.
And Ron, you're talking about this area here or in East Ferry?
Go down a little. And if you
Right
see
here?
it, yeah, keep right there's one. And then the one as you go into the residential is the Wilson Avenue, which is down even lower, and it's by the bridge. Yeah, if you just follow the I-95
That's
a little east, and you got it
right here.
right there.
Okay, a lot of dumping in there.
Yeah,
Or this,
and
or you're talking about dump that is something that is not good, or dump like trash.
trash. It's like people
Okay.
just dump their trash, you know, on the side of the road. You see mattresses, you see a lot of garbage.
So how often is the garbage picked up, or are the streets cleaned? Is that an issue?
I don't see any street sweepers or anything like that, but I know when I go to lunch, like at Campino's on Jabez Street, or I go to Fernandez up by Raymond Boulevard in between Raymond and Ferry, getting there, it's all dirty. You know, if all the industry and everyone along there would just do their part, it would make a big difference.
Right, because I know the garbage and everything would just make the flooding worse in the area, right? Because
Yes, it would, because the garbage is actually going to head more towards the residential areas.
Mhm.
Any other places that you don't like about this and it's challenging?
Well, if I had my way, most of Doremus Avenue would be really cleaned up.
Okay, that's why we're here.
And, you know, pretty much as you go on the west side of I-95, that's when you start heading into the residentials. That should be like the barrier between the industrial section or the light industrial section. And we need to do a lot better. There's some businesses abandoned there, and they should be cleaned up too.
So when you talk clean up, you're talking about aesthetics, about legally dumping,
garbage, buildings, a little bit of everything.
Okay.
There's a lot of abandoned buildings in that area. They don't need to be there. What about the community people? What do you see?
It's a very harsh environment to even venture into. I've driven through the area every so often, but it's not very accessible. The roads obviously are not in great shape, although there are parts that are in good shape because it got repaved. I think being a waterfront, there is a lot of value to unlock, but that would really require like a whole more holistic thinking about where industry, freight, and these type of facilities should be located, or whether they could be located far away from the actual waterfront. Because I'm thinking like more like the Brooklyn waterfront, where it was industrial, it was ports, and now it's high value residential, recreational. But that kind of requires a lot of coordination between the communities here because New Jersey is just so fragmented politically, whereas New York City at least is somewhat more unified, and they can just say, oh, we're going to take the waterfront, we're going to develop the whole thing over and make it nice and beautiful and increase the property tax values based on that. So it's a New Jersey problem, I think.
But you're talking about this East Ferry area over here where we have, the park and the waterfront. So I want to make sure that I'm
pretty much all the
what you're
waterfront.
saying.
All the waterfront from East Ferry up to Doremus, up to Kearney, up to Bayonne, up to, let's say, the Jersey City's Bayfront, for example. I mean, it's all prime waterfront property if you want to make that like residential, mixed use, and move the lower value commercial activity or industrial activity inland into, more inland. But that's a big haul because it's a political issue. You have so many different political entities managing these various properties.
Unfortunately, the whole east side of the map, there was a lot of industry there over the last 100 years.
Right.
There is so much contamination there. It is unbelievable.
Right.
And what you mentioned is a trend, developing these waterfront properties for
in general.
But this will take, literally decades because even in New York, where they're trying to redevelop College Point, for example, where you have the auto repair shops that have been there for decades, it's been like that for over 30 years, and even now with Williamsburg, by the Williamsburg Bridge by when you enter in Williamsburg Bridge, that used to be a whole parking lot for decades as well before they finally redeveloped it, and that was really a political thing. So I would like to imagine a brighter future, but I don't know if I'll live long enough to see it.
So is this is a project is on looking at a 10-year time horizon, right?
Yes.
10 year or 20 or 30, because I don't see anything happening in that short horizons, given the experiences of surrounding communities with similar physical challenges and also legal challenges. And New York is actually they actually have more power over the land than we do because of the fragmentation. I mean, I see parts like, let's say, Kearney Point, where it's supposed to be like a new industrial workspace for light industry. It's great, but there's no access to it, for example. And Bayfront at least has potential because there is some sort of potential connection to the light rail, even though it's still kind of a haul, and you do have 440 basically cutting off the whole the property from the rest of the city. And I think Newark has similar challenges with, well, I guess like Route 21 cutting off the East Ward from everything else, and also Raymond Boulevard cutting off, let's say, East Ferry from the rest of the city as well. So that's that's a big challenge.
Yeah. So building on that point, I guess one thing that I'd be, would be a priority for me in kind of a 10-year redevelopment timeline would be thinking about basically the way that trucks that are headed towards the port traverse the Ironbound, and also the accesses to the highways, which again, to the earlier point that was made about the kind of the general quality of the infrastructure and the maintenance in terms of the trash is a big area. So trucks, kind of truck routing, so that trucks get routed outside of Ironbound wherever possible, and then improvements to the exits and on-ramps for the highways.
What's interesting is the port had a major project, the Port Authority, over the last 15 years that just ended, and the new port projects are starting. And Doremus Avenue all the way up to Little Ferry, I forget which bridge they use, the truck traffic was supposed to go that way because they increased the weight of the roads. So all the roads were rebuilt for the heavier trucks. And how does this whole thing fall into the new port project, the 2050 project? Because they're looking for a major expansion in truck traffic and also warehousing. And it seems like the Doremus Avenue is one prime real estate for all of this. But it seems like all the overseas containers and warehouses are taking over the area.
Yes, so we do have people from the board to be part of the steering committee. We are aware of the 2050 plan, and they actually have identified areas of the Doremus to be an extension of what they call the land uses, and I have identified, we didn't put it in the presentation, but we put it online, of some of the key uses that they're seeing happening, which is most of them are auto related, container, bulk, logistics. So all those uses not necessarily work on Doremus. Like if you're thinking about bulk, we need access to the waterfront. So we are working with them and see, what is our relationship. And one of the questions that we had is like, can we position this area as an extension of the users of the port, because of their proximity. But we are of course, they're thinking about 50 years. So we need to coordinate with that and see what is accessible.
Yeah, they have a presentation at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, the Port Authority.
Oh, perfect. Any other thing related to some of the challenges? And if you're talking about challenges, what opportunities do you see or you want to see happening here?
I'm just kind of curious about what other examples we have to learn from around the country and around the world. I guess because you're out of Philadelphia, so Philadelphia has its own issues with just how it organizes the industrial and ports area, and same with Baltimore. Baltimore, obviously, Inner Harbor is like maybe one of the examples that we may want to draw some lessons from, good or bad.
Yes, so that's actually one of our tasks to do that. So for example, sorry, I'm typing and talking at the same time, so let me stop one. So for example, if we're talking about, so the Port of LA, I know is a different size of this one, but they're doing a pretty good job on electrification of their fleet. So when you're talking about, the truck routes and all that, and the pollution that all these trucks are causing, can we learn from what LA is doing? So we've been studying some cases. There's no a one-on-one comparison to this area, but we can grab several elements from what all the ports are doing and bring it over here and test it out. So
I would guess one major challenge would be just the street alignments, because this is an old city, the streets are not straight, and we're kind of forcing 5 pounds of soil into a like a 2-pound bag,
Yeah, well, one of the challenge of the area, yes, is accessibility, because we only have Doremus, we have Wilson. We have very few streets that access this area, by the way.
For orientation purposes, Gaetano, can you show me where Rome Street is on the map here in regards to the project? Because I can't see it. I can't see.
Okay. Let me zoom in. Which street were you asking?
Rome. I just want to see where it is in relation to the overall project.
I actually don't know where Rome Street is.
It's more like East Berry area, east of.
It's right off of Wilson.
Okay, so Wilson is here. City Hall is this.
Yeah, no. That's it's way. It's off of Wilson, so it's one of the streets right all the way. Yeah. I don't see it coming up.
No, I mean, this is not Google Maps. This is just, if I didn't map the street, it's not gonna show up. So it has to be one of those over here. So what do you want to say about the street?
Well, there's a lot to say. I mean, the coordination of the traffic lights. I'm just even getting the track, because right there is where you get on all the different what you call it, skyway and so on. So I sometimes have to wait for the light to change 3 times before I can even get past the line. Past the line. Sometimes I literally can't get out of my driveway for 5 minutes because the cars are just all the way lined up down the street. So some coordination there with the traffic, and the traffic lights, cameras for security and things like that.
What's the scope of the recommendations that you anticipate making from this this part of the process?
So we are mostly focusing on what you see highlighted in yellow over here, but we know that whatever happens here is going to affect the Ironbound in terms of health and resiliency and transportation. So if connectivity is something that it's, affecting the neighborhood and affecting this, then yes, it's like if this signal and traffic coordination that you're talking is because it's affected by the on and off ramp to get into, 9 and 1, that might be it. It's because, they need to control that traffic. We're not scoped to do traffic analysis, so we have to rely a lot of the existing things, but we can make recommendations, say, hey, look at this area, there's problems here if we hear that there's enough content in that. So because at the end we're going to do an overall vision plan, and then we actually going to do an actual redevelopment plan for envision how this area can redevelop and do land use changes and transportation changes and stormwater recommendations to what is actually get built in some of these parcels.
Are there any plans to plant more trees? I mean, with all the traffic, that might mitigate some of the pollution.
Yeah, so Chris raised his hand. Chris, can I either have to unmute you or you're gonna mute yourself? Yeah, so streetscape is another thing. So we're gonna be looking at all the streets. So Doremus is one of them, Wilson is one of them, and we'll look at key streets and the street sections and the safety and propose, streetscape improvements, intersection improvements. Some of the streets over here, believe it or not, they're still not paved. So, we need to start paving some of the streets, looking at the stormwater because of the flooding and all that. And Chris want to answer some question.
And have sites been identified as toxic sites or sites that need remediation?
We do have a map that we show on the presentation with some of the brownfield sites and Superfund sites. So we know where the sites are.
Okay. And what's being done to remediate them?
Also, Claudia, if I could just address the question being asked here by the participant. These sessions are also one here concerns and to talk possible solutions. When it comes to the remediation of contaminated sites in this neighborhood, we certainly will use this as an opportunity to present ideas, but on the broader scope about brownfields and contaminated sites in Newark, we have just partnered with NGIT and the Hiller School of Architecture. And in the Hiller School of Architecture, there's a Center for Community Systems led by Dr. Colette Santasari. So what we intend to do is not just think about Doremus, but think about our city as a whole in terms of what is the overall index of our contaminated sites and brownfields, and then develop a strategy as to how we incorporate all of these parcels into our grander development ideas. But we have identified some brownfields in this neighborhood, and this plan is to produce a plan as to how we remediate those sites. I heard a question early on about trees, and those trees are certainly big with this redevelopment plan, because we realize that first and foremost, we need to acknowledge the environmental injustices predicated on the western neighborhood here, Doremus, and really course correct. And one of the first things we can do is by building in buffer trees as buffers that separate this high industrial use from this
Right.
dense residential use. So yes, trees, and more trees.
Yeah. Are you working with Rutgers? Rutgers has an agricultural program as well, and you know they're working with how to grow industrial hemp, and that's a good remediation. Good for remediation.
Yeah, well,
I know NGIT, but Rutgers has a whole hemp program.
Yeah, so we will be engaging all of our, in a sense, community partners, whether they be private, public, or educational facilities. This is not a plan that is only being generated by WRT in this office, but it's a plan that is being generated by the citizenry. So even your insight as to where we can get help tonight has helped us. Certainly, we will look into how we can bring in Rutgers as a remediation partner with their hemp tree program. We know that there are a lot of attention is needed in this neighborhood, and we will not leave any of our strokes out of the action plans going forward after we have done some sort of thoughtful analysis of Doremus and Doremus's course correction.
Any further thought for security and added cameras in different areas? How is security being considered?
Sorry to interrupt. Just want to let everyone know there's a little less than 5 minutes left in this exercise.
Thank you, Amy.
Before we run out of time, I would also like to ask, is there anything that you like about this area? We don't want to leave that out. But
Ironbound has great restaurants.
There you go.
Yeah.
When you walk the streets and all there, I do feel very safe. I do like shopping there also.
So it's a stark contrast, right?
Parking is a little bit of an issue, but if you want the food, you're going to find a parking spot.
This planning exercise, this vision, is there any funds anticipated for the execution, or is this just going to affect basically city policy for this area?
There's an excellent question, and it sometimes is where we see pause in the actualization of the projects that these plans call for. Parallel to doing redevelopment there, well, I should say the new normal coming out of EHD and the Office of Planning and Zoning is that we don't want to go through these type of lengthy exercise just to have something on the shelf. Simultaneously, as we're doing these type of plans, we are also scouring around to access resources so that we can, in a sense, build out some of those projects where we have the control. So while we'll see a rewrite of our land use ordinance that affect Doremus, we know that as a city, we will need to invest in some capital projects, like a green beltway, like bioswales to help with flooding and flooding mitigation. So yes, we are identifying source of funds in which we can build out those projects.
Okay. Any other general comments or things that you want to tell us?
Any considerations for transit accessibility?
Transit to the area?
Yeah, I guess transit in particular for people who work in the Port District.
Yeah, we're gonna be looking at there's very limited. There's I think there's only 2 bus lines.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, and they're very limited. Normally, if you want to get around down in Doremus, you have to take multiple buses, which is kind of unfair to workers.
Yeah. So there's limited bus access. So is everyone back in the main room?
Yeah, I was just going to let you know people will be trickulating back in.
Okay.
Limited public transportation.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there any talk about it being connected, and maybe I missed it, some way to the airport, or no?
What do you mean connect?
Well, for multiple things, I guess.
We're all back now.
I would imagine this project is somehow linked to the Port Authority's 2050 project.
I see.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it looks like they're heading into the Newark direction.
Right. Okay. That would make
And
sense.
there is a presentation tomorrow by the Port Authority at 10 a.m.
Did someone put that in the chat? Or
Let me see if I can find the link they sent me.
Yeah, that'll be great. Appreciate that.
I do want to mention that in this group, we do have Kristen Figaro, who is a representative from the Port Authority.
Oh, we do have now everyone back in here in the main room, so welcome back. I want to make sure right now, does everyone can see my screen, which is with the board? Zoe,
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to reply or say yes or no.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So since we, Amy, how many groups do we have?
We had 7 groups.
7 groups. So I'm not going to go over the one that we have in here because if people were watching at home, they could see our conversation. But then we actually use only one map. And then the stickies are, the blue ones are ideas and opportunities. The pink stickies were things that we don't like. And then things that we like, I just want to say Ironbound has great restaurants and good walking environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing. And then because Amy, I don't know who the groups are. You need to collab at least. Can you collab 2 or 3 groups?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start with Zoe and Mary's group.
All right. One of you can share your screen.
Great, thank you. And yeah, Mary, I was going to say you've got the record, so I will report out really briefly. We did have, for the most part, people who are involved in the redevelopment planning process as part of the team. So we did have one community member that did a lot of the heavy lifting for us. So we really appreciate that. So starting with places that they like and are valuable, a lot of these were focused in the Ironbound neighborhood itself. There weren't any that were within our study area, and many of them were sort of the community assets like schools, the community recreation center, community center, and the park assets. Go to the next one. In terms of areas that they don't like or that need improvement, there's a lot to cover. Very much of our conversation centered around the environmental impact, around the smells, heat island effect, so areas that were really hot, really uncomfortable to be in, and also around the contamination of the waterways, including waterways that some people are still fishing. So food quality and food access came up as well as part of that conversation. And in particular, our conversation zeroed in on the East Ferry portion of the study area, also known as East Ironbound to some folks, as an area where that crossover between residential and industrial uses is particularly sort of unfriendly and particularly a problem for the community. Go to the next one. Oh, we also, I should mention, sorry, a lot of conversation about the truck traffic as well, and the danger that's posed by the truck traffic, as well as the damage to property and cars that's caused by the truck traffic.
Wow, I like how many yellows right here. Good.
So there's some this sort of echoed some of our earlier conversation around what improvements are needed. They kind of are the mirror image of some of the problems or the areas that are not liked. So improving the smell was a really important piece, as well as food access. There's also we had a good conversation about in East Ferry, the potential to have sort of light industrial uses that help to transition from the residential to the heavier industrial area. and might provide support to community members who are interested in entrepreneurship, especially in things like food production and making things. So things that are technically industrial uses, but are more friendly and compatible with residential uses nearby. That overall, there's a need to balance the sort of job training and the sort of outcomes for people who are working in the industrial sector. So for instance, truck drivers who are owner operators with the needs of the residents. So really there's a nice, even-handed understanding of how those two things relate to one another, and that any solution we come up with needs to really be pragmatic in supporting the industrial workers as well as the residents, so that because there's sort of a relationship between those two communities, or in some cases that those two communities are in fact the same community. So I thought that was a really great nuance to be bringing up about the relationship between industrial workers and residents, and how to implement some of these ideas. I don't know, Mary or anybody else in our group want to fill in some things that I may have missed.
Yeah, I think just the final takeaway that our lovely participant who was with us wanted to make sure we kind of take away from it is just to make sure that we're really reaching out to the communities that are most impacted by these environmental issues and this contamination, and making sure that they're really at the forefront of the decision making for this process. So yeah, that was it.
Perfect. Thank you, ladies, and your group members, which I don't know where they are. I hope that you guys recorded your session.
We did.
Muy bien. Thank you. Okay, so Amy, who can share next?
Yeah, let's hear from Breakout Group 2 with Tim Jensen.
Tim, you're up. You're muted. And then you need to share your screen.
Yes, 1 second.
No worries.
Okay, great. Everyone can see. So we, this is my first time doing one of these. I was telling them, so I wish I was a little bit quicker with getting some of these points on the board, but they really are kind of emblematic of the last group's points as well, and definitely overlap in a lot of different categories. The first being the Riverfront Park in Ironbound is a very strong community asset. Just in terms of connectivity to downtown, to Penn Station, and also just to other areas of the Ironbound and points east. So the walkway along the Passaic River, has also improved, substantially, albeit sometimes, a little bit slower than we'd like. But that is another major attribute as well. And also just the resiliency of the Ironbound throughout the just in terms of just having good reputation by local council, and also just the the ability and strong business community that was able to kind of rebound a lot quicker and a lot more effectively than maybe some other areas of the city, unfortunately. But yeah, and also just as we all know, outdoor dining options and any kind of culinary choices are abundant in the neighborhood as well, which is pretty unique for the city. And 1 second, let me just read the last one here. And also just the existing parks like Independence Park right here in the center, and also the Riverbank Park as well, which is right by Jackson Street there, are major attributes and are good models for further kind of open space and park development in the area. So moving forward, okay. So this one, we had a few more points. basically as the last group identified, spillover from industrial areas, whether it be odors, noise, pollution, traffic, you name it, is a major concern, especially in the periphery area in the East Ironbound that's closer to these areas. Also, coastal resiliency is a serious concern as well, just in terms of not only from an environmental standpoint and flooding, but also just in terms of the economic impacts that would basically just be brought forth by any kind of catastrophic storm such as Sandy. Again, with sea level rise, with climate change, that does increasingly present a larger threat to the area, and just also the prison population. The inmates and staff are disproportionately affected by a lot of this industrial waste, basically because the location of the prison is smack dab in the middle of a heavy industrial zone. With trash incinerators, with just basically kind of the most undesired uses just concentrated in one area. One of them being I guess, unfortunately, the prison. So that is an issue of concern in terms of environmental justice. And I'm just trying to think if I missed anything here. Yeah, and also just as the other group mentioned too, small businesses are kind of underrepresented and underutilized in the area. A lot of the industrial and commercial use in the areas is really just controlled by pretty major conglomerates. So moving to the next slide. Yeah, this one I was kind of testing out my skills with the pen, as you can see, not very well. So we identified some major kind of truck interchanges here that can be kind of problematic in terms of the amount of traffic they generate and just the kind of bottlenecks and congestions that may arise. Mainly centered around Route 1 and 9, and also just I-95 as well. And also just any interchange really where, any of these major roadways meet some of the local arteries, such as Wilson Avenue, basically Doremus Avenue, Delancey Street, and Rutherford Street, this area kind of around here. The rail lines, I mean, our group really didn't see them quite as problematic as some of the trucking issues, but I think just basically improving upon these issues would just be a boon to just the existing infrastructure, just in terms of general traffic flow and just prevention from for any spillover into the Ironbound area as well. So the next one is opportunity zones here. So so the main focus was basically just incentivizing investment that is that will provide jobs that are conducive towards the majority of Newark residents. Involving in transportation, logistics, shipping, warehousing, dock work. Basically employment of that nature and surrounding those industries. And also just the potential for green industry as well, which it is on the table, and just kind of maintaining those industries that are traditional to the area, while also just kind of expanding this industry and making it a priority for the redevelopment plan as a whole. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, so I do want to be mindful of, thank you, Tim. That was actually very comprehensive, and I see how some correlation with the previous group. So since we actually recorded each one of the sessions, and we're going to be posting the recording on our project's YouTube page for everyone to kind of know what other groups say, but also in our kind of next meeting when we meet with the public, we're going to summarize all these comments that we've been collecting in this meeting and online and report it back to you. So I want to thank all the facilitators, and I just want to give the floor, Tim, if you want to stop sharing for a second. Thank you. I just want to make sure that give Chris and Pallavi to say any final remarks and closing remarks, or even if Allison wants to do it, so we can close out this meeting. Chris, you're muted. Yeah, hold on, let me unmute you. There you go.
Thank you, Claudia. And I just want to say thank you first and foremost to the residents for participating in tonight's meeting. What we've heard from you tonight is that Doremus presents a larger community asset. I heard, you know, we really would like to present a plan, or we should be looking at a plan that presents Doremus as the neighborhood asset, an asset that you should access, an asset that should be look at to provide more robust transportation options. I was delighted to see that one caller was talking about, you know, you should be able to cycle there. I mean, hearing that just in a sense amplify our resolve in terms of pedestrianizing our streets. I heard about environmental resilience and Doremus serving as an opportunity for small business incubation. In terms of environmental resilience, I heard about the need for more trees and more green and beltways. And this is the type of rich feedback we were always hoping for from this type of public meeting. So I want to say thank you for participating and encourage you to continue participating as we plan for a better iteration, not only of Doremus, but of our city as a whole. I would be remiss if I don't thank my immediate team that are on the call tonight. Pallavi Shinde, who's our supervising planner, has done a heavy lift to get us to this moment. Pallavi, thank you so much. Tim and Matt and Vishnu and Juan, you guys are a tremendous source of encouragement and a tremendous asset to the department. I would like to thank also WRT for what a wonderful work you've done so far. And tonight's meeting was a great example as to how robust we would like to engage in our public and how much your voice is respected by us. And last but not least, thanks Director Ladd for your leadership. Without saying, you know, we would not have been at this moment. So thank you all that have participated tonight, both from our Newark City team, our outside partners, and friends from the neighborhood, and Newark colleagues and friends also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for your participation, and have a good night. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks, Claudia. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.